Hey everybody, it's Greg LaBeouf. Welcome to another episode of Awaken, the ProtectR Within. Listen, I'm just out doing a little bit of run around, but I thought I'd jump on real quick because I was reminded today, as I was driving down the road, listening to the radio, something I seldom do, but it reminded me today of a 3-step process that is so powerful that every time I've ever applied it, not just to aggression and violence, but to any aspect of my life, I have gotten the best results. Okay, so what is this 3-step process? It is saturate, eliminate, until you inoculate.
So the big question was this: what do good people do when a society's laws and institutions fail to keep them safe from aggression and violence? How do you get through a growing number of angry, hateful, aggressive people and still remain physically, mentally, and emotionally strong and positive? That was the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Greg LaBeouf, and welcome to Awaken, the ProtectR Within.
Okay, so listen, I said I'm driving around and I'm listening to the radio, and it's something that I seldom do, and there's a reason why, but it reminded me of this process. Now, matter of fact, I want to go back. I want to go back to when I first started training. Remember, what drove me to training was I was broken. I was victimized. You know, I was mentally, emotionally, physically as well, but mentally and emotionally, I was completely destroyed. It had just, taken everything from me. But here's the thing, you see, as I started the training and as I was blessed to find mentors in my life, people that understood what I'd been through and understood, how the road ahead of me and what I was going to have to do to try to come back from victimization, to just stop being that victim. It was very early on, but I remember we're training, we're working all this stuff, and I knew in my head that it was possible. I knew that it was possible that, I could feel confident again. I knew it was possible that everything that they were telling me was true, that what I was feeling, there wasn't something wrong with me, all this different type of stuff. But it wasn't until they introduced me to this 3-step process that that was the first time when I started to do this. In a very short period of time, I started to apply this process, and all of a sudden, it went from being possible to being an absolute certainty. I knew in this moment that I wasn't going to be the victim. I was going to get past everything that I felt. I wasn't there yet, but I just knew that I was going to find my confidence. I knew all of a sudden that nothing was wrong with me. And I want to share this with you because the thing that triggered it is listening to the radio. And I know a lot of people listen to radios, but here it is. Let me break down the 3-step process and we'll do it kind of in order. So the first thing is to saturate. You see, you've probably heard a term, and if you play poker, you've definitely heard this term, but it's called going all in. You see, you've got to go all in on something to saturate. Think of it like a sponge. Most people dabble. And if any area in your life that you struggle in, I can guarantee you that you have been dabbling in that area, that you might have been Googling, you might have read a book or two, or even 5 or 10. You might have conversations about it, might be something fun to talk about. Maybe you watch a few shows on it or some documentaries. But if you're struggling in any area, you're dabbling. And the difference is that very few people understand or are willing to go all in or to saturate. You see, if you think about our mind and you think about the way that our mind works and our emotions, if you think of your subconscious, the deep part of your mind that controls all of your feelings, all of your beliefs, that is where our true motivation comes from. You see, what directs our actions isn't our conscious mind. See, how many times have you ever thought, I should absolutely do this? I should go to the gym more. I should eat less. I should eat healthier. I shouldn't stay up as late. I should. Same thing with violence and aggression. I should be able to get over this. I shouldn't feel so scared. I shouldn't feel, why do I feel so hurt? Like intellectually, we can understand a lot of things. And yet we find ourselves acting not in accordance with our best interests of what we know we should be doing. So see, thinking isn't enough. So what I'm getting at is that when you have an area that you are struggling in, or something that you want to overcome, or something you want to change, you cannot just think of your subconscious like a sponge. You can't just take a cup of water and pour it into that sponge. You can't just, stand under a light rain and expect that information, expect that to saturate through that sponge and actually impress upon the subconscious. You see, when we're talking about saturation, we're talking about going all in. That means that you have literally got to seek out the Niagara Falls of the area that is giving you trouble, and you have got to stand underneath that intense flow. You have got to read every book on the subject. You have got to read every book that has ever been written on that subject. You have got to research and find out who the pioneers are of that subject. You have got to study the history of anybody who has ever dominated or even seen a moderate level of success in the area that you want to change. You see, I said that when they introduced this process to me, the first thing I had me do when it came to saturation was I began to read and study every single thing that I could find on aggression and violence, on every single person that had ever studied aggression and violence. I started to go deep and research and study on human behavior. I started to go so deep, and not only that, but I was already saturation because I had put myself in a position where I was around some of the best combat educators in the world. Okay, like for the first 2-3 years, I went down there 3-4 times a year, and I would stay there as long as I could. Typically, it worked out to be about a month. Then I'd come home for a month or two, and then I would go back. And then at about 3 years, I realized that that wasn't enough, that I needed to live there. I needed to not just live there, but live with them. Matter of fact, when I first moved down there, I stayed with Tom, one of my instructors and mentors, but I also slept in my car. I camped out. I slept, and I just find a park. It was California. I mean, for a Canadian kid, it was warm. I slept anywhere. I didn't care. I did anything because proximity is power. But you see, what I was really doing was the process that they had taught me. I was saturating myself. At the same time, man, if I wasn't with them, if they had to go out and do something different, that I wasn't invited to or that I couldn't weasel my way into, then I was reading, I was writing, I was studying. And back then, man, the internet wasn't around when I first started training like this. You didn't have access to like just the knowledge we have today at the tip of our fingers. But what I want to tell you is that you must saturate. Now, I'm going to add a little something in here. See, I don't listen to the radio, and I don't watch the news, and I don't read the newspapers. Why? Because those things saturate your mind in a negative way. And so that brings me to the second part of the step. You see, you must saturate, and then you must also simultaneously eliminate. You must eliminate things that are negative or counterproductive or counterintuitive to anything that you are trying to fix and dominate and change in your life. When it came to aggression and violence, I stopped. I was very careful. I stopped reading stories. I stopped listening and talking to certain people. I stopped listening, reading, talking, and absorbing anything that had victimization inside of it. Anything that had people talking about how the world was more unsafe and how, you couldn't change it. There was nothing you could do to protect yourself, or how, just anything that led to feeling broken. And let me put it this way. Watching the news, all you see is victimization. All you see is negative. And it doesn't have to just be about violence and aggression. You are consuming stuff that is negative about everything. It's negative about the finances, the economies in this state. It's negative about politics. These people are doing this. It's just negative. And so when you are saturating when you are pulling in all this other information, the newspapers, when you're talking to friends that are negative, when you're reading things and listening to the radio, you ever listen to radio? Again, just today, how these disc jockeys, the stuff they talk about is either demeaning to other people, it's negative about the economy, it's the struggles in their life, it's the struggles in their relationships. It's all negative. It's garbage. But see, most people don't put a guardian at the gate of their mind. And so your senses, your faculty senses, your sensory faculties, are absorbing and picking up all of this crap that you're not even aware of because it's hitting you on a subconscious level all of the time. Do you understand that if you're in an area where there's sound that is 40 decibels below what you can actually hear, 40 decibels below what you can actually hear, when you're around that, you are subconsciously picking up all of that sound, and it is bypassing your conscious mind. And the conscious mind is the part of your mind that can accept or reject anything that it hears. You are picking all of that up, and that is being recorded deep into your subconscious mind. Straight to your subconscious mind. The subconscious can neither accept nor reject. It just hears it and adopts it as truth. So when you have a radio playing even low, when you have the TV on in the background and the news comes on, and anything that's negative that's coming out of that, it's going straight into your subconscious mind. It's being programmed in. Now what happens is this is why I said that people that dabble don't have the same success. Because what happens if you are reading 5 books, and out the course of the day, you're listening to the news, and you're reading the newspaper, and you're having conversations with negative people, and you're standing in line at the supermarket, and you're hearing just people, standing 2 aisles away that are talking about the crisis of this, or the problems of that, or how this is happening, that's happening. Then what's happening is your subconscious is pulling that in. So you think about it. Let's go back to our sponge analogy. What is saturating you more? The 5 books that you read? When you take an hour out at night, or you take a couple hours in the morning, you go sit and read, and it's positive, and it's something that's constructive, and it's something that you're trying to change and grow and benefit you, and you're trying to absorb that? Or the rest of the day, when you are subconsciously being exposed to thousands of stimulus that you're unaware of, or that you're even subjecting yourself to? Do you see what I mean? What is saturating more? Which sponge is going to get wetter? The Niagara Falls of negativity and defeat and destruction when it comes to finances, relationships, aggression and violence and bullying and tormenting, it's overwhelming because it's everywhere. The focus point of every movie is struggle and pain and suffering and failure. And then at the end of it, for the last 10, 15 minutes, we get our uplifting victory. Okay, so, there's my daughter. So what I want to share with you is that you have to first saturate yourself with what you want. I saturated with myself. Hey, Nye, how's it going, babe? How's school?
Good. Awesome.
Awesome, great. I'm just doing my podcast. So
Okay,
sit down, plug in, and let's enjoy. So you saturate with the thing that you want to change. I saturated because I started to consume everything that I possibly could when it came to understanding violence and aggression. I saturated by putting myself around some of the best combat educators in the world, but I literally changed and controlled my environment. Then I eliminated everything that could have a negative impact on me, anything that could make me even just feel the slightest bit negative or defeated. So I got rid of the news and newspapers, and I stopped listening to the radio, and I just got rid of all of it. There's so much stuff around. I started to avoid certain people. I started severely limiting conversations that I have with even people that were close to me that I knew were negative, or people that time when I went down there first started training, they were telling me that I shouldn't be doing that I wasn't good enough to do that. So, you see what I mean? Like, you have to eliminate all of this stuff, especially in the beginning. You have to live in a vacuum that you create that is going to positively reinforce and enhance and saturate everything that it is you want to change and become. Now, I said that you must saturate, eliminate, until eventually you inoculate. Now, here's the thing. Do you have to live in that bubble for the rest of your life? And the answer is no. What happens is that eventually when you saturate so much, what is being impressed, what you are absorbing and saturating with, that is being impressed, eventually that saturates your sponge, it seeks into the subconscious, and now it is so full that it begins to express. Now you begin to think differently, you begin to feel differently, you begin to act and behave differently, and you have shifted and created new paradigms. And that changes. When you think different, feel different, act different, you get a different result. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. And now what happens is now you are a different person. Now you have different beliefs. And now you are inoculated in a different way. And so now I'm not saying that you should open up the floodgates to negativity. I still don't listen to the news very often. I still don't listen to the radio very often. And today was a reminder why. But now I'm more inoculated against its effects. I'm more inoculated against the effects and negative opinions of other people that are around me. Now I'm more inoculated against the effects of violence and aggression, bullying and tormenting. Why? Because for a period I saturated religiously and relentlessly. I eliminated, and then I eventually became inoculated. And now I'm hypersensitive. So now what'll happen is I can have times where I'm going about living my life, and maybe I've been around these things, but all of a sudden I'll become really aware that I'm starting to feel the effects of my environment. And so what do? I go on a maintenance program. I become consciously aware. I saturate, surround myself with information and people that give me what I want. I eliminate. I tighten the reins on everything around me that's negative and all the people that are around me. I re-inoculate, and I'm golden. And now it takes a third of the time to do that process. So I thought I'd just jump on and share that. Anything in your life that you want to change, trust me, focus is a force multiplier. If you put this process, if you focus in on saturating You focus in on eliminating. It'll lead to inoculation. It'll lead to changing the paradigms, and it'll give you the results that you want. All right, everybody, that's it. I'm going to hang out with Naya, check in with her, see how the rest of her school day was. Naya, anything to add to that? Saturate, eliminate, till we inoculate, right?
Can't really think of anything.
Nothing at this moment?
No.
But that's what we do, right? Do we watch the news in our house?
No.
No. Because we saturate, eliminate, till we inoculate. All right, everybody, that's it. Till next time, as always, stay safe, stay ready, and remember, off that X is only one step away.
Bye.
Want to awaken your protector within? If so, then head to awakentheprotectorwithin.ca and get your free Off the X training today.